The Milwaukee Bucks, a team surrounded by doubts at the start of the season, didn't just silence their critics. They grabbed the metaphorical microphone and shouted, "Fear the deer," while the rest of the league stood in stunned disbelief. In a league dominated by bold predictions, advanced analytics, and relentless Twitter debates, no one, and I mean no one, saw this coming. Let's rewind and unpack how the Bucks shocked the basketball world by becoming a modern dynasty, starting with the offseason drama, building through their improbable run against powerhouse teams, and culminating in their defensive clinic that made Shai Gilgeous-Alexander question his life choices. If you're a Bucks fan, you know the 2024 to 2025 season started with more questions than answers. Sure, Milwaukee pulled off one of the biggest blockbuster trades in NBA history by acquiring Damian Lillard to pair with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Over the last 4 games, Giannis averaged 32 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 blocks on 62% shooting, leading the Bucks to a 4-0 record in that time. Milwaukee just beat the OKC Thunder, the #1 seed in the Western Conference. But let's be honest, basketball isn't NBA 2K. Chemistry matters, and the skeptics were louder than an opposing arena full of cowbells. Would Giannis and Dame gel on the court? Could two ball-dominant superstars coexist? Would the Bucks regret parting with Drew Holiday, their defensive anchor? Early in the season, it seemed like these fears were warranted. There were moments of awkwardness, missed defensive rotations, and the occasional, "wait, whose team is this?" vibe. The basketball world wasn't buying Milwaukee as a contender. Pundits rolled their eyes at the idea of Dame and Giannis forming a deadly pick-and-roll duo, instead highlighting their defensive vulnerabilities and lack of chemistry. One analyst even went as far as to say they might not even make the playoffs. Oh, how wrong they were. To fully appreciate what the Bucks accomplished, let's take a stroll down memory lane. Milwaukee's basketball history is a tale of ups and downs, heartbreaks, and triumphs. Founded in 1968, the Bucks wasted no time making an impact, winning their first NBA championship in 1971, led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson. After that golden era, the Bucks spent decades in the basketball wilderness. The 80s brought consistent playoff appearances but no championships, and the 90s were, well, a dark time. Fast forward to 2013, and things began to change. The Bucks drafted an unknown 18-year-old from Greece named Giannis Antetokounmpo, who went from a skinny kid nicknamed the Greek Freak to one of the most dominant forces in NBA history. In 2021, the Bucks finally broke their 50-year championship drought, with Giannis delivering an all-time finals performance against the Phoenix Suns. But even with that ring, many questioned whether Milwaukee had staying power. Were they a one-hit wonder? Could Giannis ever reach another level? Despite finishing with a solid record, the Bucks season wasn't without turbulence. Dame and Giannis had their growing pains, and the team's defense, which had been their identity in recent years, seemed to take a step back at times. By the time the playoffs rolled around, Milwaukee looked vulnerable. They weren't the top seed in the East, and their road to the finals was anything but easy. Yet somehow, they found a way to flip the proverbial switch when it mattered most. The Oklahoma City Thunder were the top seed in the West, boasting a young, dynamic roster led by MVP candidate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. OKC's mix of athleticism, skill, and three-point shooting made them a nightmare matchup for any team. But the Bucks, they weren't scared. They marched into the Western Conference Finals and delivered one of the most shocking upsets in recent NBA history. Giannis was unstoppable, dropping points after points. And remember that chase down block on Alex Caruso? Oh, and that cold-blooded mid-range jumper he hit over Chet Holmgren in crunch time? Yeah, the same mid-range everyone said he couldn't hit. The Bucks' defense was suffocating. Shai was held to a brutal 21 points on 24 shots. Milwaukee's game plan was simple but effective. Throw bodies at Shai, clog the paint, and force him into tough, contested shots. It worked to perfection. Giannis Antetokounmpo's work ethic is top-notch. Personally, he's my MVP over Nikola Jokic because of his Defensive Player of the Year level defense, along with his improved mid-range shooting and better overall team record. He wasn't just great this season, he was historic. If there was ever a season to cement his legacy as one of the all-time greats, this was it. But it wasn't just the raw numbers that stood out. It was how Giannis evolved as a player. Remember when Giannis's free throw routine took longer than a coffee break? Critics mocked him endlessly, but Giannis turned that weakness into a strength. This season, he shot an impressive 78% from the line, a career high. For years, people said Giannis had no jumper. Well, they can't say that anymore. That dagger mid-range shot against OKC wasn't just a fluke, it was the culmination of years of hard work. He's not a good passer, they said. Guess what? Giannis proved them wrong. His court vision this season was on another level, whether it was finding Dame for an open three or threading the needle to a cutting Brook Lopez. Defense wins championships, and the Bucks proved it. In an era where offense reigned supreme, Milwaukee leaned on their ability to lock down opponents when it mattered most. Against OKC, they held one of the league's most explosive offenses to under 100 points in 3 of the 6 games. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a player who lives in the paint and feasts on defenders, was completely neutralized. Milwaukee's combination of length, physicality, and defensive IQ made life miserable for the Thunder. Brook Lopez, the team's defensive anchor, was an absolute menace in the paint, swatting shots like he was auditioning for a volleyball team. Drew Holiday may have been gone, but Jevon Carter and Khris Middleton stepped up as perimeter defenders, making sure no one got comfortable. The Bucks didn't celebrate after winning the in-tournament cup because they didn't want to get comfortable, as they are aiming to be this season's playoff champions. Game 7 was a defensive masterpiece. Last season, Giannis became the second player in NBA history to record a season of at least 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists on 60% shooting. The only other one to record that type of stat line for a season was Wilt Chamberlain. That's right. Kareem never did, and neither did Shaq. That's how much of a talent Giannis is. It's a bit unfair to leave a few other scorers out of the list. Kevin Durant, Jalen Brunson, Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, all were essential pieces to the puzzle. With the final buzzer sounded, the Bucks had done the unthinkable. Giannis cemented his legacy as one of the greatest to ever play the game. Damian Lillard also went straight to business like the rest of them. With one of the NBA's best defenses and an upcoming offense, the Bucks are one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now, and winning this tournament cup might help them move forward. What are your top favorite moments from the Milwaukee Bucks? Let us know in the comments below. Fans are getting bored of the modern NBA. Luka Doncic just dropped some crazy points against the Golden State Warriors, but recently something was totally off about Luka. What's going on with him? Check out this video to find out exactly what happened.